Java, error handling means catching and responding to problems during your program's execution, like a file not found, invalid input, or insufficient balance in a bank account. So, understanding error handling in Java is essential for building reliable, robust, and user friendly applications. So, error handling is the process of responding to unexpected error or events that occurs during program execution without crashing the program. So Java uses a structured way of doing this using keyword like try, catch, finally, throw, and throws. Uh, so why do we need error handling? So imagine a user enters a wrong value or a server goes down. If we don't handle the error, our app crashes. So that's a bad user experience and risky in critical system like banking or healthcare. So error handling prevent crashes and improve user experience, like informs user clearly instead of showing technical errors, and maintain system stability, like recover from runtime failures like missing files or wrong inputs and all. And it helps in avoiding exposing stack traces or sensitive data, and it also helps in debugging and logging purpose. So we have two types of problems in Java, like errors and exception. So errors are like serious issues like memory leaks or stack overflow, means I can't usually recover from. Then we have exceptions like recoverable programs like files not found, divided by zero, array out of bound and all. So we can handle exception, but not errors. So these are the classification, like throwable, like everything, like exceptions are from like inherited from throwable. We have a series like serious problems that is error not handled, like out of memory errors, stack overflow errors, and virtual errors. And we have exceptions like recoverable problems. We can handle these things. Again, under this we have checked and unchecked. That is in like checked like input output exception, SQL exception, like your IDE will ask you to add try catch block or take care of those codes. Then unchecked, like null pointer exception, arithmetic exception, and all these are all runtime exceptions. So basically, error is a serious or unrecoverable problem that is usually beyond the control of program. So these are not meant to be caught or handled. So maybe because of more usage of memory or during recursion, not adding a base cases and all. So these are the common errors. Like we have out of memory, stack overflow, JVM crash, native library linkage errors and all. So most of the times you see out of memory and stack overflow errors. So here a simple example you can see. It's a like infinite while loop, then which consumes more memory. So in real world, loading too many large images or unbound data or memory leak in the backend system causes out of memory error. Then we have a recursion bug, like as I mentioned, if you don't add a base case, so your program will run infinitely. Like recursion call without termination will cause in this kind of issues, um, which can't be rectified, or the programmer has to analyze before executing the program. Then no clause def found error. So again, here like a class was present during compile time, but it is missing at runtime. Suppose the required library class is missing at runtime, this kind of error will cause the issue. So you can see here this class is not in the class path. So this is also like misconfigured libraries, missing jars, or wrong class path in web server cause these issues. Then we have unsatisfied link error. Again, it occurs when the native code written in C or C++ cannot be linked to the Java code. These are the rare cases, in real world, maybe JNI related issues common in games or embedded systems during hardware calls. So again, as I mentioned, missing or incompatible like native libraries cause these kind of issues. Then we have virtual machine error. It's a parent of many serious error like internal error, out of memory error, a stack overflow error. So Here's a simple example like JVM itself fails internally. Again, it's a rare one. The use cases like JVM bugs or corrupted native methods or extreme stress testing. So these are about errors in Java. And next comes the exception. So an exception is an event that disrupts the normal flow of a program. It occurs during runtime and can be either handled or not. So again, we have two types of exception. That is checked exception, which is compile time exception, and we have unchecked, which is the runtime exception. So checked exception, these are the exceptions that are checked at compile time itself. Like when you are writing the code, IDE itself asks you to enclose or wrap the code within try catch block. So again, as I mentioned, like compiler forces you to either handle them using try catch block or declare them using throws keyword, because they are usually external issues like file, network, database, and all, and that are not in our control, and must be handled properly to avoid crashes and all. Like how it occurs, like accessing files or a network, building database connection, threads, and classes that might not exist as well. Again, here's a real-time example. So let's say if you are reading some file, local files or which are placed in server as well. So ID asks you to enclose within try catch block. So we'll see what are the available error handling methods we have. Means whatever the code we have written, we have to enclose within try. And if there is any error here, it will be handled in catch block. Means again program will execute further, but this error will be shown in the console or wherever you are executing. So here you can see it's an exception. There are a number of exception we have. Means while handling file, it is file not found exception. Then again, we have other exception. We'll see some of the common exception as well. Here you can see the compiler forces you to handle file not found exception. Let's say you type this code, and the compiler will auto provide these blocks like try catch block. Then we have unchecked exception. It's a runtime exception, and these exception that are not checked at compile time, and they occur due to logical or programming errors and can crash the program if not handled correctly. So because they usually happens due to developer mistake or bad user input, and you may need to handle them, but it's not mandatory. But as a programmer, you need to take care of all your logics and how you write your program and all. And the common occurrence are like accessing null objects, dividing any thing by zero, or it will give an exception. Again, accessing array out of range. Let's say your array length is 5 and you're accessing index 6, 7 like that, and it will throw you an exception. And wrong number formatting or invalid casting also cause exception. And here is a simple real-time example. So it's a null initialization. So string is null, and if you try to call any method for this variable, it will throw error. Like any method, like equals length or splitting the null variable, or null variable means you can't use a null variable before using it. Either you need to add the if block or check whether is empty or not before using any variables. So that's how you can handle the exception for unchecked things. So make sure you have a proper logics, a null check, void check, and all before utilizing the variables. Same for any of this occurrence. Like before accessing array, make sure the array length is crossed, what you are accessing or not, before utilizing the array index and all. Then the common checked exception, like I have a list here common checked and unchecked exceptions. So common checked exception are input output exception, like while reading the file not found exception. Then SQL exception, like if you are handling DB connection. you can use this SQL exception, then parse exception. Like if you are working with date class, calendar class, you can go with a parse exception, then class not found exception. For thread, you can use interrupted exception and invalid URL formats like malformed URL exceptions. Then common unchecked exception like null pointer exception, arithmetic exception, division by zero. Like if you are dividing, like you might not aware that the program has those things, but better to use these kind of exceptions. And array index out of bounds exception, like as I mentioned, like if you are accessing index beyond the length, so it will cause an issue. Then in illegal argument exception, like method receives wrong inputs, so you can use these kind of things. Then class cast exception, number format exception, like passing invalid number from string. And illegal state exception, like invalid state to perform an operation. So here is a simple example. I will show the same thing in IDE as well. So here I'm just reading the credentials from the file using buffer reader class and the file reader class, and it will read the things here. But while logging in, if the username is null and if the length is less than 4, like I'm using new throw keyword. I'm just throwing illegal argument exception with a message saying username is short or null. And means if that is not the case, then if user logged in successfully, then showing login successful with username. So here the first checked exception you can see, and I have unchecked exception as well. Checked exception in the sense I'm reading the file, so I can use input output exception. And here unchecked exception because if the user pass null, means here I'm just hard coding it. Sometimes like you can use scanner or in the real time, if user provides a wrong user details, you can handle like this, like add both the things in try catch block. You can add the both the things in same block, then add a chained catch, and you can use a separate as well. uh, yeah, as I mentioned, like it's a user input, so you need to handle with carefully, like had the if conditions and all. And as within the if condition, I'm throwing here, right, like forcefully throwing the error, so that it will be caught here and it will print the message saying login error with this method saying username is too short or null. And again, ways to handle errors, like as I mentioned, we have certain ways to handle the errors. Like the important, like the frequently used are try catch block. It's a basic way to catch the exception, like adding try catch block, means we have two keywords here, try and catch. So try in the sense like whatever the code you are using, add those within the try block. Then the error, the exception can be handled in catch block. Like whatever the error caught within this block. So whatever the error caught in within this block, so it will be caught here, and it will print the message like this. Like instead of crashing the program, we are just handling it so that the next code will be executed smoothly. And as I mentioned, like we are dividing um, 10 by 0, so it will throw a arithmetic exception, and this is how it is. Then multiple catch blocks, so it's similar to like if else, so you can have multiple catch block here. So as I mentioned, like you're not, if you're not sure what are the uh, error or exception might occur, you can add the generic one, that is exception, but use it carefully. But above that, you can add a multiple catch block. So let's say if you are handling DB connection, and with that you are also getting user details and all, so then you can add uh, DB SQL exception one, which I have showed. Like you can use SQL exception with that illegal arguments as well. Like you are getting the user's data, and again with that you are comparing with DB, or you checking some queries and all. So in those case, you can add multiple catch blocks. And other block, it's a final block. It, so if you got, like if there is error or not, the final block will be executed. No matter what happens within the try catch block, the final block will be executed. So these things can be used when you are opening some files, networks, or database for closing the connectivity, or finalizing the things, like you have opened the file and it's recommended to close that file as well, so that that can be used further. So those things can be handled within final block. So you are executing something and you can print the message like saying that everything is done, uh, program is completed, or transaction is finished, something like that you can use within final block. So if there is issue, if there is no issue, then like no matter what, final block is executed. Then we have throw keyword and throws keyword. Throw keyword is like manually throwing the exception. So this can be handled for logical usages, or so business conditions. Like say in your organization, you need to throw like exception manually, saying user input, like invalid user inputs or invalid payment methods and all. So you can throw this whatever the message forcefully, saying look, you have given wrong details, or age details and all. You can throw these messages. So here the default, whatever the exception know, you can handle these things. Like here I'm using illegal argument exception. The same thing you can use if the provided inputs are not valid for your business logics and all. Then we have throws keyword. Throws keyword can be added in the methods, like pass, like whenever you might not know that okay, there will be a issue happen or exception happen within the system or within the block. So in those cases you can add this throw keyword saying input output exception. So again, as I mentioned, id will ask you to use either throws or try catch block, so which will help you to handle the program smoothly. Then finally, like we have a custom exception, like create your own exception class. So you can create like whatever we have input output exception like this. You can create your own exception, saying here you can see low balance exception, then which extends exception class. Then you can use the constructor and call the super keyword, so that the super class like exception or throwable class constructor will be called, and the message will be prompted. Here you can see like the if the balance is less than this, I'll be calling a low balance exception, which will say the message like balance too low. So this exception will be thrown. And here's a simple example. The same thing can be seen in or we'll see in the IDE as well. So here I'm providing insufficient fund, so that it will throw the manual exception if I have provided the wrong fund details. So yeah, the best practices, like always catch the most specific exception first. Uh, Again, don't don't just print the messages. Also log those things. Then don't suppress error silently. Use custom exception, like suppress error silently in the sense like throw some messages or log those things, so that it will help you in the debugging or troubleshooting purpose. Then use custom exception for business rules, and use finally for all the, like whenever you use try catch block, use or add finally block as well. So again, we'll see a simple example from IDE. So here's the example. I have a bank account class, and I also have the custom exception. Like I have used all the possible options. One is the custom checked exception. I have insufficient fund exception class, which just throw the message whenever there is insufficient fund. So you can create a number of classes like this and extend exception, so that just throw the message. Instead of using available exception, you can create your own uh, custom class, exception class, so that it will helpful for your business or in real time or projects and all. So this is the bank account. So like as usual, like other example which I have shown earlier, it will create the account first, then deposit the amount or withdraw the amounts. So if the amount is less than or must be like it's less than zero, it will say illegal argument. And if you are trying to withdraw amount and if there is no sufficient balance, then it will say that like insufficient balance and all. Otherwise, it will just deduct from the bank account, or it will, if it is deposit, it will add it to the bank account. And get balance is to just the balance. Then I have a print account summary, so which I have used in finally block. As I mentioned, the same thing can be used here. Like I'm using scanner class, so I'll be closing here. So if you are using or if you are building a database connection, so you can use this. Or then finally, I'm just saying transaction is completed and I'm printing the account summary. So within main method, first I have created an object for bank account class. Means this is the initial value like Raj Sharma and the amount. Then using scanner class, I'm asking the user like I'm expecting the values either to deposit or withdraw the amount. Then based on the entries, I will be showing the values or the message. So let me execute this. So you can see account holder. So as soon as I have created the object, it will give you the it will give you the message. So I'll be depositing -1. So it will say invalid input, deposit amount must be greater than 0. So let me execute it again. Let me deposit some amount here. So deposited some amount, now withdrawing it. So withdrawing more than that, you can say like insufficient balance here. So you can't access more than what you have. So once it is done, transaction completed, account holder and whatever the balance it is there, so it will show you. So this is how you can handle the exceptions. Like you can also see here, I have one try catch block and multiple one try block and multiple catch blocks. One is for insufficient fund, one is for illegal argument, and the generic one is exception. If you are not aware of what exception you need to use, like the bare minimum you can use this. Otherwise, if you know like if you are having some mathematic operations within your code, you can add arithmetic one, or if you have custom one, add that first, then illegal arguments, whatever based on your logic, you need to add the catch blocks. Yeah, this is all about error handling in Java. So good error handling makes your app professional, stable, and easier to debug. It's not optional, but it's essential. Thanks for watching.